It's great to have you here. Appreciate you jumping on, taking time out of your busy schedule to talk to a couple of guys like me and Goodman. It really means a lot, man. You're now a year into your tenure in the college ranks. You've kind of had some experience going through the portal, man. Has this been everything that you thought it was going to be when you took the job?
Man, it's crazy because how much things have even changed in a year in terms of the portal. Last year, obviously, I got the job late, so that presented some challenges this year. I think because of the way that this portal unfolded with the house settlement and people trying to act fast, and it was everybody was drinking from a fire hose and acting super quick, and it was very aggressive. And we're still in it. We're still looking to shore up some spots. So it's been a lot of learning on the fly.
What was the most difficult part of all this, of the whole transition from coming from the NBA to college that maybe, people had told you about, but until you lived it, you didn't understand it?
I mean, the day-to-day life as a college coach versus an NBA coach is wildly different. I think that's probably the biggest difference. Just in terms of how you plan your week, how you game plan, and as far as your scouts and how much time you have to do it. And, you can really, really move the needle, I think, in college by just having really good day after day after day. NBA is similar, but you just can't do it with practice. You do it with walkthroughs and film where, here, we put a lot of time, energy, and effort into planning our practice days. And I think that allowed us to improve as the season went on. I think that's probably the biggest difference. Obviously there's a lot of other things that go into the two different situations, but that's probably what stood out the most this year.
I think a lot's going to get made of the pieces that you've added this offseason, right? We can kind of get into that a little bit. There's some big names involved there. But when you look at teams like Florida and Houston and Auburn that made the Final Four, they did it with continuity. They did it by bringing back talent. And one of the guys that you are bringing back is Richie Saunders. How important was it to get a guy that was as successful as you was last year back into your program for another like he knows what you guys are on. He knows the terminology. He knows the system. He knows the sets. And he knows you guys as coaches.
Oh, it's huge, man. It was monumental, honestly. He's a guy that, obviously first team all Big 12 performer, carried us in a lot of close games. He was the guy that we were going to. And like you said, the continuity piece. That was something that we studied with those rosters that you just mentioned. I think the portal can be really enticing. Try to go out and get, new pieces. We felt like, not just Richie, but other guys that we had coming back, Cave Akeda, Dawson Baker, Mihailo Boskovic. There's guys that we feel really good about where if we were going to go get those guys out of the portal, we'd be super excited to get them. And they're already in-house. They already know what we're doing. And I think you saw that in those teams that you just mentioned. And obviously for us trying to blend those guys, led by Richie, in with what else we're bringing in is obviously going to be the key.
All right, so you're bringing in my fellow Massachusetts native here any day. I think AJ Dembansa gets there this week. Did he already get there?
Yeah, so he's here. He's him and Xavier Staten just showed up a few days ago, and so they're here.
All right, so give me kind of realistic expectations for people nationally around BYU and even for yourself on AJ, because he comes in with hype like nobody's ever seen, including Jimmer when he got there. Obviously, Jimmer became Jimmer. We know that. But AJ, the hype is incredible surrounding his arrival.
Yeah, it is. Rightfully so. He's obviously an extremely talented young man. I love him as a guy. I think he's just a really good guy. I think he's a fun guy to be around. I think his personality is going to blend in well with, our team. But as far as what to expect, I don't have a great relationship with expectations, I think they can really do a lot of harm. I think with him, my goal with him is to just help him be the best version of himself. And I think that's going to be a really fun player to watch. I think it's going to be something that helps us win a lot of basketball games. It's going to really benefit him. He's coming here to help us win, but obviously has his sights set on, his future as well. And that's something we really pride ourselves on in terms of, helping guys get to the next level. I've said this before, but I know my background gets a lot of attention, but I got multiple guys in our program who have worked in the NBA. And I think guys that want to get to that next level want to come in and be a part of that, so in short order here, he'll be working with an NBA level strength coach, here at BYU. I could go down the list, but I think that's what gets me excited as it relates to what to expect from him. What I expect is just him to get better every single day because of the way we do things. And I think the byproduct of that is going to be something really fun for fans and everybody in the country to follow.
I think these guys that are in his mold, right? The big wings, the scorers, the 6'10" dudes that can go out and get a bucket, that can create for other people, that can shoot, that can do all the stuff that he does. There's a lot of really good players like that in the NBA right now. Who do you see him kind of resembling the most? I mean, Goodman's throwing Paul George out there. We've heard Jason Tatum out there. Like all of the name a 6'9" scoring forward, and you've heard AJ Dembansa compared to him. Who does he kind of remind you of?
Yeah, I agree with the Paul George one. Physically, they look very similar. I think his game is similar to like a mix between. And again, I'm not saying he's as good as these players. I'm just talking stylistically, kind of a mix between, Paul George and LeBron. I think the way he passes the ball, I don't think people talk nearly enough about his passing. I think he's really unselfish. And so that's kind of the guys I see. I think he can be really, really unique defensively. I've gone up against Paul George in playoff series and seen him guard some of the best players in the world. I mean, he can – when he was in his peak defensively, he was as good as there was in the NBA. And I'm really have challenged AJ on the defensive end here as we've recruited him, and now that he's here on campus, I think he can be a first-team All-Big 12 defensive player. And that's something that I know he's a student of the game. He loves the NBA, and that's something I've shared with him, in terms of, hey, the best players, the best of the best of the NBA, those guys aren't running from matchups. They want to guard the other team's best player. I mean, look at what Anthony Edwards is doing, in this current playoff series. Booker was like that when I was in Phoenix. And so I'm trying to and AJ wants that, but I'm trying to really, really get him to wrap his head around that part of it.
All right, so I'm going to throw out a trivia question for you that if you don't know, you're going to need to know. All right? The most famous people from Brockton, Massachusetts, not named AJ Dembansa. They're both pro boxers, older. One of them, I don't want to say, I think is passed because people have been wrong on this stuff before. But
Okay.
they're both older. You got either one of them?
I was gonna say Ace Dembansa, but I'll have you tell me who it was.
He was a fighter? You think Ace was a fighter?
Educate me.
All right, so Rocky Marciano,
Okay.
one of the all-time greats in boxing, undefeated, and then Marvelous Marvin Hagler, a great middleweight with the Tommy Hearns, Roberto Duran, that crew. You're younger than me, so these guys, so you got to know that. You got to know that. That'll impress Ace. Okay, if you hit Ace with that, trust me, he'll be impressed. Rob Wright, your point guard now, and a guy who came over after a year at Baylor. One of the things I love about Rob was he's played with Cooper Flagg and VJ Edgecombe, two really, really talented guys. So he's dealt with, I don't want to say like egos, because I don't think either of them, but like great, talented players, and knowing how to deal with those guys and how to win games and maybe pull back a little bit and be more focused on wins than maybe their own numbers. Why did you pick Rob Wright as the point guard that you guys wanted to match with Richie and AJ?
Yeah, I mean, I think he's the ultimate floor general out there, and that's probably the number one thing. And then, last year we struggled at times to really, get as many, paint touches as we wanted to. And, we feel like he's a guy. I mean, when we played them and he almost single-handedly, beat us down the stretch when we played Baylor. So we've always had great respect for, him as a young man and his game. And then the fact that, he's proven that he can, lead teams that are, talented groups, as you just mentioned. We feel like that was something we wanted to get as it related to, parents, somebody with, that AJ would come in and obviously, respect right out of the gate and could help Richie, take his game to another level and, throwing lobs to K McCade as well. I mean, those were all things that were really heavily on our minds. And then if you just look at our style of play, we felt like, we feel like one of our strengths is spacing the floor and playing with great pace. And, you drop Rob Wright dynamic skill set into that style of play. And man, that's a lot to get excited about.
So you guys made it to the Sweet 16 this past season, made it to the second week of the tournament. If you had left your brother Justin back in Phoenix, would you guys have won the national championship or only made the Final Four?
Oh, man. He weighs us down sometimes for sure. But, nah, man, Justin.
What does he actually do, Kevin? Like, what? I know what his title is, but, like, does he actually do anything there?
He second guesses everything I do, pretty much. So, but no, man, he's no, he honestly, man, he's great. He's able to give me a sounding board that, obviously there's so much trust between him and I, and you guys know as well as I do how connected he is in the basketball world, and so it's just been a real unbelievable resource, not just for me but our entire staff. I've got a couple guys who aren't as well versed in a college space, so he's really helped bring us all up to speed. And when things get tough or I really, really need to get down to a decision on personnel, I mean, he's the guy I'm relying on.
Well, I
was going to ask you about that. Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because it felt like last year it took you guys the staff a little bit of time to figure out how the college game works versus the pro. Like, it's a lot more physical in college basketball. I don't know if people realize that than it is in professional basketball. And it felt like it took you guys some time as a staff to kind of adjust to what you're working with in this level of the sport.
Absolutely. It took me, some stubbornness I had to get over. I mean, I was, frustrated with the physicality, and we just had to embrace it. And again, we didn't have a whole lot of just jitterbugs that could just go by pressure. And obviously teams knew that and they would crawl up into us. And so, tactically we had to do some things with getting our guys off the ball, then getting them back in their hands. So they could play more foot fake game and less live ball stuff and different, tactical things. And we started playing faster. We didn't want it to be a half court game. Our what we call kick aheads, we're throwing the ball ahead in transition, became a lot more prevalent as the season went on, and give our guys credit because they really bought into that. But yeah, it did take a while, and I think that's probably what made us good though at the end, is we had gone through some adversity, and oftentimes when you go through adversity and you got to figure stuff out, I think that really builds up character of the team and the staff, and it builds trust, and it just kind of came together, and allowed us to get on those big winning streaks that we got to.
Well, listen, Kevin, we appreciate you jumping on with us. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch BYU in the coming season, especially this year. It's going to be one of the centers of the college basketball universe with guys like AJ Dembansa and Rob Wright and Richie Saunders on the roster. We appreciate you jumping on, man. Best of luck this season. Keep an eye on Justin for us, all right?
I'll try my best, man. Appreciate you guys having me on.